My sister accused me of stealing her heirloom wedding ring in front of our entire family. She searched my handbag, demanded that I empty my pockets, and told everyone I had always been jealous of her. I was standing in the bridal suite, surrounded by bridesmaids and relatives, when the venue manager stepped into the room and said, "Before anyone calls the police, you need to watch the security footage." My name is Mara. I'm 34, and until that morning, I thought the worst thing that could happen at my sister Elise's wedding was another argument about money. Elise was 2 years younger than me and had always been the impulsive one. I was the practical sister, the person who remembered deadlines and quietly fixed problems before anyone noticed them. When Elise became engaged to Daniel, she planned a wedding she and our parents could not fully afford. I had recently received a promotion, so I offered to cover the venue deposit as my wedding gift. I asked everyone to keep it private because I didn't want Elise to feel indebted to me on her wedding day. Daniel knew, though, and after that he began making strange comments whenever Elise left the room. He would say things like, "You enjoy being the responsible sister, don't you?" Or, "It must be hard watching Elise get all the attention for once." I dismissed it as insecurity. A week before the wedding, Elise asked me to take our grandmother's wedding ring to a jeweler for cleaning. It was a 70-year-old diamond ring our grandmother had worn throughout her marriage. Before she died, she left it to Elise with one request, that she wear it on her wedding day. The ring was worth around $14,000, but that wasn't why it mattered. Our grandmother had helped raise us, and the ring felt like the last physical piece of her we still had. I collected it the day before the wedding and handed it directly to Elise inside the bridal suite. She placed it in a small blue velvet box, zipped it into her overnight bag, and said, "Tomorrow, Grandma comes with me." The next morning, I arrived at the venue just after 8. Elise was getting her hair done, and Daniel kept moving through the bridal hallway, claiming he was looking for the officiant. About an hour before the ceremony, Elise opened her bag. The velvet box was there, but the ring was gone. We emptied the bag onto the table. Makeup, tissues, perfume, chargers, and hairpins scattered everywhere. Then Daniel walked in. He looked at the empty box and asked, "Who was in here?" One bridesmaid said several people had come and gone. Daniel looked directly at me and said, "Mara picked it up from the jeweler." I laughed because the suggestion seemed absurd, but then Elise asked me to open my handbag. I said no, not because I had anything to hide, but because my own sister was looking at me like I was a stranger. Daniel stepped closer and said, "If you didn't take it, this ends in 30 seconds. That was when I learned he had spent months telling Elise that I resented the wedding. He said I thought she was irresponsible and that paying the venue deposit gave me control over her day. I looked at her and said, "Elise, you know I would never touch Grandma's ring." She started crying and said, "I don't know what to think." Then, in front of our parents, the bridesmaids, and Daniel's family, she opened my handbag herself. She pulled out my wallet, keys, makeup pouch, and phone. There was no ring. Daniel said I could have hidden it somewhere else. Then Elise said the sentence I still remember most clearly. "You always needed to be the good daughter. Maybe you couldn't stand that today wasn't about you." I stopped defending myself. I told her that if she truly believed I had stolen it, she should call the police. Daniel said that was exactly what they should do. Before anyone could make the call, the venue manager, Mr. Alvarez, appeared at the door with the head of security. He had checked the cameras covering the bridal suite hallway and said, "There is something you need to see." We followed him into a small office behind the reception hall. The camera didn't record inside the suite, but it showed the hallway clearly. At 8:17, I entered carrying coffee. At 8:22, I left with 2 bridesmaids. At 8:29, Daniel entered the bridal suite alone. He stayed inside for 4 minutes. When he came out, he looked both ways, reached into his jacket, and adjusted something in the inner pocket. Nobody spoke. Mr. Alvarez replayed the clip and zoomed in. A corner of the blue velvet ring box was visible in Daniel's hand before he pushed it into his jacket. Elise looked like all the air had left her body. Daniel said he had moved the ring for safekeeping. I asked where it was. He claimed he had given it to his brother. His brother, standing behind us, said, "No, you didn't." Daniel offered 3 different explanations in less than a minute. Security asked him to empty his pockets, but he refused. The venue manager told him the police had already been called. That was when Daniel admitted the truth. He had accumulated more than $18,000 in online gambling debt. 2 days earlier, he had contacted a pawnbroker and sent photographs of our grandmother's ring. He planned to take it before the ceremony, sell it afterward, and tell Elise it must have been lost during the wedding chaos. But when she discovered it missing too early, he panicked, so he pointed at me. He knew I had handled the ring, and he also knew he had spent months making Elise question my intentions. He believed she would accuse me before she ever suspected him. The wedding didn't happen. Police recovered the ring from Daniel's car, sealed inside an envelope with the pawnbroker's address written on it. Elise sat in the bridal suite wearing her wedding dress while guests were told the ceremony had been canceled. I wanted to comfort her, but every time I stepped toward her, I heard her voice again saying, "Maybe you couldn't stand that today wasn't about you." So I kept my distance. 3 days later, Elise came to my apartment and apologized for believing Daniel. I told her believing him wasn't the only thing she needed to apologize for. She had searched my belongings in front of everyone. She had accused me of stealing the most meaningful thing our grandmother left behind. And she had done it because a man she had known for 2 years told her a story about the sister who had stood beside her for 32. I said, "I was humiliated publicly. I'm not accepting a private apology." The following Sunday, Elise invited both families to our parents' house. She explained what Daniel had done. Then she admitted that I had paid the venue deposit, protected her from embarrassment, and never once used it against her. She apologized without excuses. I accepted her apology, but I didn't pretend everything was immediately repaired. Trust doesn't return simply because the truth arrives. Sometimes the truth only shows you how much work remains. Elise eventually began therapy. She sold the unused wedding decorations and insisted on repaying part of the venue deposit. The ring is now locked in a bank safe deposit box. Elise still plans to wear it someday, and I hope she does. But the next time she walks down an aisle, I hope she chooses someone who doesn't need to isolate her from the people who love her in order to control her. My sister accused me of stealing our grandmother's wedding ring. The security footage proved I was innocent, but what it really exposed wasn't just a thief. It exposed how carefully someone had taught my sister to distrust me, and how quickly she was willing to believe him. Would you have forgiven Elise after her public apology, or would the accusation have permanently changed the relationship? Tell me what you think, and subscribe for a new story every day.